was Josh walking off camera, delivering our beverages.
Lumbersexual and
outnumbered overtime, OT, baby. Where we kind of let it hang out, hang loose.
What hangs
just
out?
Go. Well, hopefully not too much is hanging out.
Did you have fun?
So why do you love women's shoes?
I don't.
You don't?
No, Does anybody here have a foot fetish kind of thing?
No. A foot fetish?
That you would admit on television?
No, the opposite.
Okay.
But some men whatever that thing is, I have the
opposite
180-degree diametrically opposed thing where I am grossed out by feet.
Right. I'm not grossed out by feet, but I don't understand men who have a foot fetish. I don't understand the attraction that goes to that level.
Yeah. Really?
So I'm one of those guys who doesn't typically notice women's shoes that much.
Not even if you're a leg man, and as you point out, the heel elongates the leg. I'm not saying you have to be a toe sucker. I'm saying
a Twitter follower confirms my first impression after you got done reading that. I naturally thought, don't you think it's a guy thinking, oh my gosh, she's like shaky on the heels, like she could bawl, and he doesn't want to be a witness to that? Well, someone just tweeted, this JC Powell 1285. Women in heels worry me. I'm always expecting them to fall. I like the look, but don't give much thought otherwise.
So it could be a chivalrous thing where they say, it's going to be hard for her to pick that up.
Yeah.
They should be picking it up anyway.
What do you do?
I help women. I open doors. I get stared at by feminists.
What if they're flat-footed?
Bad way. What?
What if they're in flat sneakers?
Yeah, still.
Okay, good judge.
Mom raised me that way. I open car doors.
Good.
Such a gentleman.
Do you find that all women are receptive of that?
No, like I said, you know what's kind of annoying? You don't do it for gratitude, but it's annoying when a guy goes out of his way to open a door and the woman just kind of walks through and doesn't even say.
I can't stand that. And not even that. Like, if I open the door for someone and they don't say anything,
anybody.
I will always say, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's annoying. Because I'm polite. Why can't you be polite?
My daughter went to a preschool, and one of the other children, her mom is a famous TV chef. And she was walking in, I was walking out, and I opened the door for her. And when she walked in, I said, oh, hey, how's it going? And she didn't say anything, and she caught me in a bad mood. I said, actually, the customary response in this country when someone says, how are you doing, is to say, I'm fine, thank you. And she gave me a
Schmiata Schmielerentis?
I am not going to say who it was.
Will you tell me later?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I will be.
But I think but when you open the door and someone doesn't say anything, always say, you're welcome.
Right.
Yeah.
But I noticed that happens a lot on the Upper West Side of New York, where there's lots of strollers where I live. And I will open the door for the woman with the stroller because I understand it's hard to open the door. They never say thank you.
Or when you help someone down.
I mean, I don't think it's.
I'm always like, oh,
that's not cool.
See, to me, it's the exception, not the rule. Most women that I open a door for or do anything for are very polite. It's just the ones that aren't. Or just kind of stand out.
Here's a Twitter question for you. How soon after the show's over do you take off, Judge, this excludes you, do you take off your heels?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Andrew, you stay in yours.
I stay in mine.
Harris?
It depends on the day.
I'm usually in heels all day.
I mean, if I have a meeting or something after the show, I stay in them. Otherwise, I immediately slip on my Skechers, my little mules.
Oh, yes,
you guys see me do that immediately,
yes, you
even
do.
before I leave the studio.
I live in heels. I'm rarely not in heels. They don't bother me at all.
I've broken my left foot twice in the last 3 years. And so the doctor has told me, don't wear heels.
Why does it exclude
Don't
me?
wear them.
Oh,
well, okay,
Judge,
you're
do
right.
tell.
We shouldn't assume that it. What do you do
very
at
sexist
the end of the show? Do you take off your heels?
No, I don't.
Judge.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question about?
I think they actually display my legs very well.
Got a little bit of a heel on those shoes there.
Can I ask you a question about what we're about to see with the president tonight? And
yes.
We didn't get to this in our conversation today on the TV version of us, but I'm just curious. Can anybody try as a citizen to block what the president is about to do, like a citizen's arrest? Can you do that with the president?
I certainly wouldn't try it.
I mean, but the law says that we're allowed to publicly object to whatever we don't find. And so outside of voting, what power do we have as citizenry?
Well, see, you're exactly right. It's the power of voting. This is a political issue. What he's doing is not illegal. It's unlawful. It does not follow the law.
Okay, but,
it's not a violation.
Hold on.
It's not a violation of any statute. It's not criminal. Okay. It's just not consistent with the law. So it's not like you could do a citizen's arrest, and I encourage everybody never to do a citizen's arrest.
Why?
Because you subject yourself to tremendous liability. You know, police officers have immunity and protection if they're acting reasonably under the circumstances that appear to them. Citizens don't necessarily get that protection. Okay. You know, so if you arrest somebody you were wrong, you're going to get sued. You may not have
and you also
advice.
can't put duct tape around their wrists or anything like that, because then they can claim bodily injury. But I read one account
saying
saying
like you're talking from experience now, Kennedy.
Well, I'm very intrigued by the
arrested people with duct tape?
But
no,
I wanted
I'm talking about just the use of duct tape.
Like, I'm very intrigued by the idea of the use of the citizen's arrest. But I want to talk about Texas, because the one analysis of the president's unilateral executive order is perhaps states, border states can sue the president for causing them hardship if they have to further educate and, offer health care to more people coming into the country who are seeking deferment from deportation.
Well, you're really suing the government, the federal government, and then you get into...
But the state of Texas could claim harm, whereas an individual couldn't, or Congress wouldn't necessarily have legal standing.
Right. The state of Texas may have legal standing to bring a case like that. What you get into then are questions of sovereign immunity. You can't sue the president personally. I mean, the president is acting in his capacity as president. So you're basically suing the office of the president or the government itself. And yeah, I guess they could. I've never really followed a case like that to find out what the hurdles would be.
Okay. All right, let's elevate this conversation. Tharv says, Spanky says, hello, ladies. Spanky came up during the TV version of us today.
Data entry on college sex surveys.
People like the citizen's arrest question because Hoosier Kate says, I feel like doing that every day. Joel in Wisconsin says, women in heels exude confidence. We have a lot of people on the live chat right now. We appreciate that. To the judge, what is, and this is Paleo Geek. Paleo Geek? Okay. To the judge, what is the possibility for impeachment?
Well, the possibility is it's certainly an option. The president can get impeached for actually, any officials at that level can get impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors. And a lot of people are under the mistaken impression that high crimes means felonies, felonies and misdemeanors. And it doesn't. High crimes means crimes committed by high people, not in Colorado, but crimes committed by people who are elected officials, because elected officials have other duties and obligations that we don't have. So if they are acting in dereliction of their duty, if they are abusing their authority, if they are committing a perjury, which is not necessarily lying under oath, it's just a violation of oath, they can be impeached. Now, the question is, should they impeach the president? And that's where we were discussing before. I think it's a horrible idea. I think that's exactly what he's trying to get the Republicans to do, so that exactly, so that it can turn the tide that seems to have moved in their direction. The correct action, I think, if you allow me, the correct response, I think, is from the president's standpoint, where presidents don't get all they want. There have been other presidents who've had a Congress.
Can you call President Obama and tell him that?
I will. As soon as I get off here and take my heels off.
Can I just say one quick thing why I think this is happening that I haven't heard anyone discuss, and I felt this way about Bo Bergdahl getting the VA scandal out of the headlines. I think this is a way to get people to stop talking and focusing on ACA.
Well, it's a bad way, because now they're focusing on tremendous abuse of power.
Yeah.
So eventually it's going to come back to that, because
it's still on ACA.
These immigrants are going to be covered by health care, aren't they?
Are they?
And the
eventually,
one account.
Citizens.
Yeah, they are.
If they become citizens,
right.
That was my initial question.
Children, I think,
they are now 44. Last week there was a poll up 40. Actually, facts. It wasn't just a public opinion poll. 44% of new enrollees in Medicaid are illegal immigrants.
But the ACA is going to be in the news anyway. The Supreme Court's taking up the issue of the state subsidies, federal subsidies, I should say. So it's going to be in the news anyway. But what I was saying about Obama is that, other presidents have had hostile Congresses, and the way they deal with it is either they work together, they give and take, and they come up with something, or
like welfare reform,
or nothing gets done. And the solution is not, well, then I'm going to do it myself.
Right.
That's not the solution. The solution is the voters decide who they agree with, and the next election they remove the obstructive Congress, or they replace the president who is interfering. And it's a political resolution, not I'm going to usurp the authority of the legislature.
It's not really
and
a
do it myself.
resolution anymore, though, because now everything is so divided. It doesn't really.
Can I ask you, Judge, about we talked about the immediate effect of this, and obviously it's going to be a very hostile climate if the president comes out and says, I'm going to use prosecutorial discretion, which I think he's going to say. But what kind of precedent does it set up? Because I think that's where liberals really are in trouble.
Yes.
Is that, and politically, is that really the best we have from the Democrats now, is to say, well, Bush did it, so we're going to be just like President Bush. From a political standpoint, I don't think that's a winner for them. But from a legal argument, doesn't this set up for perhaps a president that maybe the left won't agree with, the next president, if it's a Republican, saying, you know what, I'm just not going to collect the capital gains tax, or you know what, I'm just not going to issue EBT cards.
Sure.
That could be the precedent set.
It's a horrible precedent because, as you said, you can get a president down the road. Let's say the next president's Republican and says, you know what? The IRS really tormented the Tea Party and the right-wing group, so what we're going to do is we're not going to collect taxes from the Tea Party and the right-wing group. There's all kinds of laws about taxation, but with my pen, I'm going to say, let's just tax the Democrats and the liberals. Now, obviously, that would never happen. It's an extreme example, but you don't have that kind of authority. It doesn't exist, and so it's a horrible precedent. But the argument that Bush did this and Reagan did this and George Bush Jr., George Bush the third, W did this. It's a horrible argument. To me, it's like when I was a police officer and I'd pull somebody over going 95 miles an hour and they'd go, well, everybody else is going 95 miles an hour. I was like, yeah, they're wrong too.
Yeah.
Your request is that we never enforce it because everybody else is doing it. That's horrible.
You know everything about the law, and we appreciate that.
Amen.
Thank you for being here.
No,
seriously, we love having you.
And Twitter is ablaze.
So, yeah, they love you. All right, that's it for Outnumbered Overtime. We will see you again tomorrow at noon Eastern on Fox News Channel. Thank you for joining us.